So you're probably wondering why these two knuckleheads are not sitting next to me right now, and that's for a reason, and it's because we got waste paper basketball back. We got the World Championship rematch between Michael Morano.
Yes, sir. Check the jacket, check the watch.
Drake
I'm ready,
the
Bo. What are you doing? No, you didn't say that. We're supposed to have a match. We're supposed to have a match. No, we're supposed to have a match.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Oswego Sports Update. Go on camera two. Camera two. No, you didn't. I did not. Let me tell you something, boys. That intro music gets better every single time I listen to it.
Yeah, it's a bop.
But that intro.
Come on.
Oh, wow,
I love
that's
it.
tough.
Anyways, good evening, fellow air breathers, and welcome back to Oswego Sports Update. Nice breath. It's a good day to have a good day, so why don't we kick this episode off on the right foot and start things off with some 8. Where are my manners? I'm your host, James Cataldo. Alongside me, Bo Drake Deese, Mike Morano. You know the vibes. As we got a great show for you tonight, let's not waste any more time with a little chit-chat, a little back and forth. Start with some Oswego State volleyball. And the Oswego State volleyball team is coming down the home stretch of the 2019 season, and they're getting hot at the right time. Winners of 5 straight in their conference, the Lakers are clicking on all cylinders, but head coach J.J. O'Connell has the luxury of more than one player willing to step up.
In the middle of the season there, Lauren Fye really stepped up, and she carried us for a while. Recently, Potsdam Sarah Massey stepped up, and she was carrying the team emotionally and with her skills. Sean O'Flaherty's been hitting the ball against Nazareth, against Plattsburgh. She put up 15 kills. And then this past weekend at Buff State, it was Melissa Lucier's turn. And then Lauren took another turn against Fredonia. So we've had multiple players stepping up into the lead role.
Mike, we're talking about multiple players being able to step up, just like J.J. O'Connell said there. How competitive can this team be in the SUNYAC, especially going into the SUNYAC tournament?
Well, I know he said that he likes to highlight on a lot of players here, but I really think Melissa Lucier should really be kind of the standout here. 250 points, 186 kills. That leads the team in both. She's still a junior, too, so maybe next year she could even improve from there. I really like this volleyball team. They're already one win away from even matching last year's total. And then, kind of brushing on their next matchups here against Wells College. They've won the last 9 out of the 10 games they've versed against them. And then going to Brockport, they snapped their 5-game losing streak they had against them last year. And Brockport on the road isn't so great. They're really more of a home team, but Oswego on the road, 8-1. So they're really kind of taking advantage of this. So against Brockport, I like their chances against both Wells and Brockport. And I think they could really just build on here and be a true threat in this league.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really interesting because not only are the Oswego Lakers volleyball team doing so well, they're literally breaking records offensively and defensively. Kills, bumps, assists. These are things that we've never seen from them in conference play before.
They broke it.
You name it. It's getting to be that time, the fall season. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Got greens, beans, potatoes, tomatoes. Anyways, it was only the first preseason game for the Oswego State men's hockey team as they look to kick off their 2019 on a high note. And they did just that. After defeating the Carleton Place Canadians 9-1, literally, boys, video game numbers, the team looks to be on cloud 9. And what are we expecting from the team this year, Bo, and how far do you think they can go based on this win?
Well, I mean, the Carleton Place Canadians are not a pushover team. They are a CCHL powerhouse. Granted, a minor league team, but they're still not a joke. And Oswego Lakers, at a lot of points during this game, really looked like they had been playing for months. So I think that's good. A lot of chemistry building early. One of the things that's kind of concerning in this, I don't know if y'all noticed this, but Travis Broman got in a fight with a child.
Yeah.
So that is a child, sir.
That is a child, sir. So I think that might say a little something about composure there. So that's a little worrisome. I mean, but you got Derek Brown, a defenseman, getting a Hattie in the preseason. So
he already matched last year's total of goals that he had already in this game.
So there's a lot of fire going on there. So I really think that once we get the first regular season game going, we're going to really see what this team's made of. And I think it's a lot.
Just to put it into perspective for you, the Carleton Place Canadians are the top team in the CCHL, a junior Canadian hockey league. And you were talking about Derek Brown on that offensive line with Anthony Passero and Travis Broman, that third line offense coming through, Passero assisting, Brown scoring 3. Everyone was getting involved. Mike, what did you see?
I just saw, like Bo said, it seems like they were playing for months. It seemed like they had a lot of question marks going into this one with their goalie situation, but I think going into next game, I think they'll have a better idea of what their goalie situation is. I mean, I think it looks great already.
Speaking of next game, the game against Nazareth this Saturday for the Lakers is our Oswego Game of the Week. Mike, you nailed it on the head as always. Puck drop, 7 p.m. in the Murano Campus Center. Give me some score prediction. Yeah, maybe. Well, missing one R, though. Give me some score predictions, boys, really quick, because we got to go to break soon.
I'm telling you right now that Oswego's coming away with this win, and they're doing it 4-1.
I said Carleton Place was going to win last game 4-2, so I'd rather not say.
Oh, my goodness. All right, whatever. When we come back, is Greg Hardy in the wrong or the right for Inhalergate? And did Jaylen Brown get paid too much money? Find out next with Headline Hits, back after this. Hey, didn't see you there. Welcome back to OSU. Starting off Headline Hits with Greg Hardy. He's gotten into some more hot water when he fought Ben Sisoli during a UFC Fight Night on ESPN 6. In the middle of the first and second rounds, he went to his corner, and the heavyweight took a puff of his inhaler, claiming that it was cleared by USADA for medical use. He claims to have sports-induced asthma. Bo, who do you think is in the right here? Should American Top Team, a very historic UFC camp, have known better, or was it just a genuine mistake? And do you think that the no contest was a little harsh for the ruling?
Yeah, I think the no contest was a little harsh for the ruling. I mean, if he's got some kind of, sports-induced asthma, I'm pretty sure that is called being short of breath, though. If you got to take a hit off of an inhaler, what kind of competitive edge does that really give you over the course of a fight? If you got to breathe, you got to breathe.
This is Greg Hardy. I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt on anything.
Okay, fine.
Well,
fine.
here's the issue with that, right? With the whole breathing thing, is that honestly though, as taking an inhaler in the sport, regardless of whether or not you have sports-induced asthma, you're supposed to have a gas tank for 3-5 rounds, whatever it may be. You don't see Daniel Cormier going in pumping,
That's fine,
oxygen
but Daniel Cormier doesn't have asthma.
But you're not getting the point though. Is that Greg Hardy, asthma or not, still needs to compete in a UFC fight?
I'm aware of that. But why are
and giving him free air is an advantage.
How is that an advantage?
Because
air is
if
always
you cannot,
free.
it's preserving his gas tank.
But
Literally, it's giving him more air.
But I think you're neglecting the fact that somebody cannot breathe. It's one thing to be short of breath and tired, but it's another thing to physically not be able to breathe.
You're right, but I think that by that honestly though, you're right.
That's just a whole different ballgame.
Listen, I think the unanimous decision should be able to stand and that Hardy should have this win. But I think that the biggest thing that you're missing is that if Hardy's able to take an inhaler, be able to actually have something assist his breathing in between rounds, then like the baseball players or the NBA players do when they're at high altitude, they take the air masks. Fighters should be able to do that in between rounds too, because that's just unfair.
Yeah.
I can't, okay, whatever. I can't get with that.
They should be able to
Anyways,
do that.
moving on to the topic that you're all thinking about. Zion Williamson, we know. His first game as a Pelican will have to wait as he has suffered yet another setback. The team announced on Monday afternoon that Williamson had surgery on his right knee to treat a torn meniscus. The Pelicans expect Williamson to miss 6 to 8 weeks, and he would miss approximately 20 games on the 6 to 8 week timetable and another 7 or 8. Another 7 or so at 8 weeks. We can recognize his incredible talent, obviously, but Mike, will this hold him back in his career?
Like 100%, yes. And that's what the worst part is, that he has such great talent and he just can't seem to translate it on the court because of his injuries. When he's healthy, he's a monster. He's a monster. And so I don't know what else really we could say here. Is just that he's going to be like one of the Brandon Roys of it, or one of the Derrick Roses of it.
That's
true. He could be.
And when you weigh this much, he's a big boy.
I was going to say
he's a big boy. When you weigh this
boy.
much and you want to be this big dunker and you want to have all these crazy tricks, it's gonna take a toll on your knees.
Maybe if his knees are hurting him, he should wear a brace so that he's able to run, which would assist him in running because he can't. Because his knee hurts so much.
I don't know.
Don't you
Bo,
think?
I don't know.
Stop speaking so much facts.
I don't know what that was.
Don't you think?
Hold the presses. All right, we need to stop really quick. Let's actually get back down to reality here. Zion Williamson is a very large man, like you said. He's probably 6'8" and 280 pounds.
That's a big boy.
And when you think about that, the man has a 45-inch vertical. So the man gets upstairs, and then the way that he lands, it is almost just like Derrick Rose, for the reason of the fact that his body is not able to handle the explosiveness.
He's going to have to take it a notch. Like, I get the flashiness, but he's got to take it down a notch because he has to look at his career, from years to come. I mean, he's going to be playing in the NBA for a long time if he limits the amount of times he's going to do all these crazy,
or just loses weight.
Loses weight too, but it's so
That's
hard.
That's tough for him.
Especially now.
LeBron did it.
Especially now, you're trying to recover from an injury. It's going to be hard to lose his weight throughout the rest of the season. So now he's already missing 20-something games. He's already putting the Pelicans down a notch. He has to figure out a way now to kind of take his talent down a notch and kind of slowly work his way back up into that. You can't start at 100 and kind of keep it there.
I would have to agree with that.
Well, the Pelicans are definitely going to need him this year. Another player that is needed by their respective team, rookie extensions upon rookie extensions lately. Players like Jaylen Brown getting M-O-N-E-Y, must be the money. 4 years, $115 million, 103 guaranteed. Buddy Hield, Sacramento Kings, who was very unhappy about the numbers he was being offered, wanting $110 million and getting $86 million with $20 million in incentives. Bo, are these extensions deserved by these players in particular, or are they way over the top?
Okay. See, I struggle a little bit with the Jaylen Brown thing because my recency bias is that Jaylen Brown was the only Celtic giving it everything in the last series that they played against Milwaukee. He dunked on Giannis Antetokounmpo 3 times, and that was more than anybody else could say throughout the entirety of that series.
Was he a third overall pick?
Out of UCLA.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's playing like a third overall pick.
The last season, he averaged 11 points a game. And he's averaging 11 points a game over the course of his career.
Is that $100 million?
Is that $100?
That's not a $100 million man.
Buddy Hield, 14.9. Is that an $83 million player?
That's solid Tyler Johnson
I
money.
will say this about Buddy Hield that I cannot say about Jaylen Brown. And that's the fact that I think that the Celtics core and the Kings core are very similar, but the difference is that I feel Buddy Hield can be a much bigger difference maker than Jaylen Brown.
I think so too. I think so 100%.
Because of the style of his game, because he's able to go in and shoot threes lights out. He's a decent ball handler, Jaylen Brown. He's a freak athlete, decent defender, but there's so many more willing pieces on Sacramento that Buddy can work with, and his play style fits the game so much better than Jaylen's does.
And I think there's differences in between the two teams here. Is that Buddy Hield is kind of the core of this Kings group. They're kind of building ground. The Kings wanted him out of New Orleans. They wanted him. So the Jaylen is not really the kind of the centerpiece here. So I think the contracts kind of differ in that sense.
Well, I mean, again, see what happens with them. We'll see if they perform. I would say the minimum 20 points a game for both of them if they're getting this type of money. But we'll see.
I would agree.
After losing to the Rams yesterday, the Falcons now fall to 1-6 on the year. Yikes. This was a year that they held the most of their core together, inking Julio Jones to a 3-year deal with a lot of their talent still on the roster, too. It's hard to understand why they can't get it together. I know we're a few years back from the infamous Super Bowl choke job, but Mike, could this really be a factor that comes into play here?
Yes. You can't. You're about to close on your first Super Bowl in franchise history, and you have a 25-point lead, and you blow it. I think a mental factor really plays a role.
Too.
I mean, come on. The mental factor's got to play here. I think the Falcons really just aren't recovered from that, and I really think that really plays a big role into this.
Well, I mean, I think that one of the biggest things you need to touch on, too, is that Matt Ryan is 34 years old.
And now injured.
And now injured. So really, the biggest thing is that they're missing a lot of their big pieces. Not a lot of their big pieces, but a lot of their pieces are maturing and aging, and they might not be the same that they used to be. But again, we'll have to see. Football, it's a waiting game, see if the Falcons can bounce back. When we come back, the Washington Nationals have made history this MLB season, making the World Series for the first time ever in the franchise. We'll touch on their chances against the Houston Astros and more after the break. Don't go anywhere. We got Talk of the Town, Washington edition, after this. Welcome back to OSU. Talk of the Town. The Washington Nationals have done something that only 28 other teams have actually done.
It's tough.
Reach the World Series. Sorry, Mariners fans. Your time will eventually come. They will come up against the juggernaut Houston Astros and are starting the series off tomorrow night in Houston. Nats ace Max Scherzer said that it isn't going to be a walk in the park.
I mean, I've been in the situation, faced really good pitchers here in the National League over the years. Kershaw, DeGrom, those guys. You just know you got to come out there and you're going to be throwing up zeros, and you got to try to match the intensity from your opponent. And Cole's had a terrific year, so obviously it's going to be one heck of a challenge.
So I just want to state here that you have Scherzer, Strasburg, Corbin, and then you have Verlander, Greinke, and Cole. So much stacked pitching in this series. I think we were blessed to get this World Series, to be honest. So Mike, the Astros, I think, have a massive advantage going into this, but how much of an uphill battle are the Nationals going into this series with, considering it's their first one?
Well, first of all, I want to say Max Scherzer, thank you for crediting Jacob deGrom. I needed that. Also, the Nationals have a big uphill battle, as we said before. I mean, the Astros have been here and have won before. The Nationals never made it to the World Series before. They have a lot of good pieces kind of stepping up here. I mean, who would have thought that Howie Kendrick would have actually been the kind of the X factor in the divisional series, going in there and absolutely dominating the Cardinals? I understand they have an uphill battle, but maybe it's not as big as we really think. I mean, Max Scherzer, people forget how good Steven Strasburg is, and he was the #1 overall pick in the draft, I believe, in 2009, 2010. I mean, he became kind of this factor that became overrated and then kind of went into his own side, the big deal, and now he's really become underrated. I mean, struck out 12, I believe, in one of the games in the championship series. I mean, people forget that, and they signed Patrick Corbin as well. They have a solid rotation. I like all three pitchers, but I don't like all three pitchers from the Astros. I think Zach Greinke has been shaky. I think he hasn't been able to kind of live up to what the Astros wanted him to be. So I really like, overall, I like the Nationals pitching in this one. I really like the 1-2-3 punch they have.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the biggest thing to touch on, not to cut you off, Bo, is that, Strasburg, he was throwing gas in Syracuse when he was a Sky Chief before he got pulled up to the big leagues. Then he had the Tommy John, right? And now he's not throwing 100 miles an hour like he used to, right? And then he just reinvents himself almost. And he really becomes that solid #2 behind Max Scherzer.
When you're throwing that hard that early in career, I mean, look at Tim Lincecum for an example.
Tim Lincecum threw from all the way back in Fulton to get his pitch over the plate.
That's a long ways away.
That is a long ways away. And I can agree with that. He's been throwing 100, I mean, probably since high school, or trying at least, to throwing as hard as he can. And then 8 years after, I mean, still 8 years, granted, is a long time, but I think that with Steven Strasburg, I think they're going to stack up really nice. I think they're two obviously different. I think Strasburg reinventing himself puts the Nationals at an advantage, especially going into the World Series.
Bo, you said it stacked up, or Mike, you actually said it stacked up.
I did. I mean, I literally said it 2 seconds
looking
ago.
at the tail of the tape, we're going to treat it like a fight here. How do these two teams stack up against each other?
Well, here's the thing. I think that the Astros have all of the power rights and all of the power lefts. That's the long and short of it to me. Mm-hmm. I think that when you look at the record in the World Series, they've been in 2 of them over the last 3 years. Where are you going to get that experience anywhere else? The thing is, they know the stage, they know the stakes. That's all that it's really going to come down to. When you're the Nationals, it can be an advantage to be the underdog and the young kid in the league, kind of coming into your first World Series. But it could also seriously backfire because those lights can be really bright sometimes. Mm-hmm. And when you have to deliver, if you don't know what the stakes are and you don't know how to handle the stage, it's not going to work out. So I think the Astros are really just overstacked, and this is theirs to lose.
Yeah, I think so. I think they understand that going into this one. I'm not saying that the Nationals, I like their pitching, but I think that many teams are kind of forgetting how really good the Nationals are. I think the Nationals have pretty good chances. I think a lot of it's going to, the first couple of innings are going to have to be a lot of growing pains, and they're going to have to limit the amount of growing pains there is because you're playing in the World Series. Essentially, there is really no room for error in this one.
Yeah.
Well, what were you going to say, Bo?
Well, I was going to say, I think what you said in chances is exactly all that the Nationals are going to have. They have to capitalize on their chances because the Astros are not going to give them them. So I think the chances that the Nationals are going to win are low. Do I think that they need to capitalize on every single chance they get? And I do mean every single one.
Yes. So what are the chances that the Astros win then? Give me like a percentage. Give me a why. Like why and what's the probability that the Astros win here?
To put it simply, James, if I was a betting man, I would bet the Astros 10 out of 10 times.
Ooh.
I think the Astros are going to win in 5 games.
Let me give you this take. That take, absolute garbage. Total garbage. That take, garbage. Let me tell you why you are
This is
wrong.
the Houston Astros.
Let me tell you why you're wrong. And it's literally because that the Washington Nationals are the hottest team in baseball right now.
Okay.
And when
They're
you
not
get into
the
the
most
playoffs,
handsome, though.
Okay.
but when you get into the postseason, being hot at the right time matters. And they have been hot since they got into the playoffs. Since they got that one game in type of scenario, and they had to rely on their pitching, they have been so lights out. The Anibal Sanchez throwing that no-hitter through 7, and then you have Scherzer following up the day after and throwing a no-hitter through 7.1. The Nationals have been unhittable. And
So
here's
what
the
are
thing.
you trying to say?
Well,
So what are you
James-
trying to say?
The thing I'm trying to say is that the Astros have a great hitting background, but Carlos Correa and George Springer and Yuri Gurriel
Altuve.
were not hitting the ball that well against not that great of pitching with the Yankees. They didn't have that great of starting pitching. Now you come against the Nationals, who have great starting pitching. Those hitters cannot struggle, like you said, World Series. Very, very slight margin for error. So how do the Nationals game plan with this solid pitching?
I think the game plan is you need to pitch lights out like they did against the Cardinals. I mean, Anibal Sanchez, Max Scherzer threw about 12 innings of no-hit innings against the Cardinals, and they shut down any chances, and you really suffocated them in the first 2 games to the point that no momentum was there for the Cardinals at all in Game 3 and 4. I think if you want to start this off on a good note, your starting pitching has to be near perfect. I think you have to take away any chance the Astros have early and keep that going.
Yeah, I think with the lack of opportunity that there's going to be for hitting because the pitching is so solid, you really have to just, when you get those opportunities, making sure that you're looking for that single, that double, and then it's aggressive base running. You're stealing when you can, and you're running to the plate hard every single time.
Well, you got a final take for us.
I do, actually. When we come back, the Los Angeles Lakers are definitely a Western Conference powerhouse. But their main man is being overlooked. Find out why LeBron James is being underappreciated when I give my final take. Stay tuned.
I don't like that. I don't like that.
I know you don't.
I don't like that.
How we doing, kids? Gather around and let me tell you a tale from a time long gone. Late last season in the NBA. For those of us who remember, a LeBaron James was on the ropes fighting for his life in the playoffs after coming off his first real injury. And he was putting up the numbers that were necessary, averaging around 27 points a game, 7 boards, and 7 assists. One of his more marquee seasons, and even after only playing 55 games. So, up until the end of the season, when the Lakers missed the playoffs, LeBron is still the name of the NBA. But up in the Northeast, a storm was brewing. Kawhi Leonard is putting the team on his back, destroying every competition that comes his way. A few rough patches here and there, bouncing a few thousand times on the rim to destroy Joel Embiid's feelings. And the next thing you know, the Raptors are in the NBA Finals against Golden State. A newly discovered muscle in the body was torn, the ACKDL, and a Splash Brother belly flopped. And doof, Canada raises a banner. So now we are less than 24 hours away from the start of the NBA season. And what's changed? Well, Kawhi is now in a Clippers uniform. That's pretty cool. He's been called the best player in the NBA by almost every analyst. The Clippers are the favorites for the chip, and the Lakers have been kind of ignored, relatively ignored. Are y'all crazy? LeBron James is still that dude. Make no mistake. Guaranteed. I mean, granted, it's preseason, but please, you cannot be absolutely hyped about this LeBron AD matchup. Boy, does it look dangerous. I'm not playing in the NBA, and I'm afraid. Listen, I'm not saying Kawhi isn't going to be elite or the second best player in the league, but for the love of God, get ready for Arrested King. Thanks for watching. OSU is OU out for a week, so be sure to come back in November when we'll be back to duke it out again. Thanks, and have a great night, everybody.